Now, as we were just talking about that, the shipping activity in the Strait of Hormuz has yet to return to pre-war levels. Far from, in fact. Data from marine traffic confirms only a handful of recent crossings. The shipping industry is still worried about threats like mines, drones, missile attacks. There's also the matter of crew exhaustion. Months of uncertainty have taken a toll on stranded seafarers, and that raises the risk of fatigue-related mishaps. Karen Young is a senior research scholar at Columbia University's Center on Global Energy Policy, and she joins us now from Washington. Karen, good to see you again. I've been following kind of what you've been telling us about this for months now, the minute that this war started. I'm wondering what you see happening in the days and weeks ahead when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, because we're still hearing some very conflicting signals, including from Iran, who's still acting like as if they're going to be in charge, but the White House saying that, look, the Strait of Hormuz will be free, not just in terms of access, but in terms of no tolls as well.
So we have to keep in mind this MOU is not yet published. There's been good reporting from the Wall Street Journal. Al Arabiya has put its 14 points online, but we're really going to have to wait until Friday. And as you said, that's not the same as a return to normalization of traffic flows pre-February 28th. It won't happen automatically. And the first reason is, as you say, we have to look for danger, for mines, for a sense of security that that mariners and captains are ready to move and they feel safe to do so. And then thinking about how we get new empty containers into the Gulf to start loading, unloading first from storage, then beginning more production from wells. There are about 35,000 wells in the Gulf region. 10,000 of those have been essentially shut in. Some will take longer than others to get back to production, certainly at their full capacity. Some won't ever get back to their February 28th capacity. So there's the traffic issue, there's the danger issue, and then there's just considerations of what production can really return. And I would say my expectation is that these pipelines through the UAE and Saudi Arabia have become so essential that they are more likely to be continuing in use for years to come, and more pipelines constructed alongside them, that those alternative routes or diversion routes along the Red Sea or through the Gulf of Oman are going to be considered safer and a lower risk premium for a long time to come. So we might never get back to that 20 million barrel a day volume that we had before this war started.
So as you've warned us before, in fact, this changes the entire dynamic in terms of the oil produced and coming out of the Middle East and how it comes out of the Middle East in terms of its routes. Do you feel that that will have a good impact on price in terms of trying to keep it more stable in the months and years to come?
The pipelines have certainly helped. I mean, a lot of the explanation for why oil wasn't $150 or $200 a barrel, it's twofold. We did have these very, very large inventories, which we've been drawing from all over the world, and we reduced demand, particularly demand from China. That's a large reason why prices did not spike higher. Basically, China stopped importing oil and natural gas from the Middle East and drew on their own inventories and just used less. So where the demand picture returns to is also a big question. And that refilling of inventories, whether it's in the United States or in Japan or in China or wherever else, it doesn't necessarily happen all at the same time. People are going to be, and governments will be price sensitive on that refilling, so they might do it gradually over the next year or so. And so that, kind of demand dynamic will determine where prices go. But in the immediate, let's see next week if things open and the MOU is signed, and we don't see a continued sort of threat environment, there will be a lot of tankers exiting the strait. Maybe 80 million barrels or so are sitting there ready to go right now. And then we'll start that process of empty tankers coming in and refilling. But, I would say, yes, that's a downward pressure as long as it goes smoothly. But it doesn't mean that we're out of the woods yet in terms of a balancing of oil markets going forward.
And Karen, I only have about a minute left, but given the Wall Street Journal reporting that they believe that not only will Iran be selling this oil immediately, perhaps starting Friday, but that a lot of the restrictions, the sanctions will be lifted, how significant of an impact do you believe that'll be on the market?
It's really important, but this is something that we have to see officially from the US Department of Treasury, and we have no indication yet. These would be banking sanctions, transport sanctions, and oil sanctions as well. And if we have a real opening where Iran can access not just its frozen funds from previous sales, but new revenue generation from sales, that would be a reversal of years of US sanctions policy on Iran. Wouldn't expect that to happen in one afternoon. I hope that the administration would take a slower and more careful approach to the lifting of those sanctions.
And once again, CNN has not gotten a denial on that Wall Street Journal report, so we will have to see exactly how that plays out towards the end of the week. Karen Young, again, I learned a lot. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.